All right, now let's go back to our top story. EFF leader Julius Malema and MP Mbuyiseni Ndlozi have been found not guilty of assault. The Randburg Magistrates Court has acquitted them. A police officer accused the pair of assaulting him at the funeral service of Winnie Madikizela Mandela back in 2018. Let's go to eNCA's Heidi Giokos, who is outside court, standing by to give us the latest. Heidi, quite a lengthy judgment with the magistrate trying to explain exactly why he made this decision. Tell us some of the important points.
Yes, so I think what's crucial here is the fact that Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi as well as Julius Malema have been found not guilty of common assault. And the reason for this is because the court here found that there was no intent to assault the police officer. This all stems back to 2018 when the two were trying to enter Four Ways Memorial Park Cemetery and they were stopped at the gates. Their car was not allowed to proceed further. They were instead told that they must walk to the part where Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela was going to be buried, and the vehicle was not accredited to enter the memorial park. However, this is when Julius Malema as well as Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi exited the vehicle and tried to explain that the car was indeed accredited, and this is when a scuffle broke out. The court has found that there was no intent to assault the police officer, that there was frustration because there was a clear indication that the vehicle was indeed accredited. However, the police officer did not allow for them to enter, and this is of course when things got rather aggressive, and this is when a lot of pushing and shoving took place. But the lengthy judgment basically stems from how the evidence presented by Julius Malema's legal team as well as Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi's legal team speaks to the fact that they provided clear evidence that their vehicle was accredited, that they had a right to be there, that they were accredited, and it seems as though the police officer was not really willing to engage or understand what was actually going on. Instead, their car was blocked when other cars prior to Julius Malema's vehicle was allowed to go through. But let's perhaps listen to the magistrates on some of the pointers as to why they were found not guilty.
I do then find that the action of the accused at first glance appears to be unlawful, but after carefully assessing the evidence, one can never assault any other human being than in gain of an entry. The evidence in its totality also confirms the version of the accused before court. The accused further lack intent to commit the offence of assault in this regard. In this regard, the court finds that even when the court carefully assess the version of the accused, the court finds that the accused version is reasonably possibly true. Therefore, I accept that the defense of justification is to be upheld and that the accused had no intent to assault the complainant based on the evidence which is listed above. Based on the reasons which is listed above, both accused is therefore found not guilty and acquitted of the charge of assault.
And Heidi, I mean, here and there it was quite difficult for us to hear the entire judgment. Maybe it's because of the load shedding that hit the court in the middle of that judgment. But I think I heard the judge also mention something about their defense saying that they were justified and him eventually agreeing to that defense. But also he mentioned something about the 29th of February, and you can correct me, Heidi, on that.
Yes, so I think what the court found was that the actions of Julius Malema as well as Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi were justifiable given how intense that moment actually was. And you can actually see from the video footage that of course had been presented in the Randburg Magistrates Court throughout this matter was the fact that a number of other vehicles were being let through, and when it came to Malema and Ndlozi's vehicle, that vehicle was not allowed to go through. So their actions were found justifiable by the court, but also their defense team saying that because they were accredited, because they were on the list of, if I can call them delegates, officials being allowed to be at Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela's funeral, they reacted that way because of the resistance and the reluctance to allow them to go through. But I think what's also important here, and the court referring to this and speaking significantly about this was the fact that Julius Malema and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi had reached out to the police officer, Lieutenant Colonel Fenter, prior to this coming to court and saying, let's perhaps speak about this and come to a resolution and, perhaps apologize for what happened and just get to the bottom of what truly happened and why the two were not allowed to enter the Memorial Park while they were blocked by the police officer. And this is when Lieutenant Colonel Fenter decided that he was not going to engage with the two accused and rather take this matter to court. And this is why he had brought in AfriForum to assist him, this being the police officers. So the court saying that the two accused had made attempts through an Ubuntu way to try and find a solution to this matter before it headed to the courts. But it seems as though Fenter did not want that. This is how AfriForum was brought in, and it almost seems as though the court finding that perhaps there was a political agenda to all of this. However, they've been found not guilty, which I think is crucial here, and Malema and Ndlozi pleaded not guilty to this. But let's listen to that aspect from the magistrate here at court today.
Both accused pleaded not guilty to the said charge. Advocate Houders confirmed the plea of both accused was in accordance with his instruction. Mr. Houders stated that the accused elect to make the following plea explanation. The ground of justification: both accused believe that they were entitled to enter the cemetery for a burial ceremony, that the obstruction of them was illegal and unjustified. In the circumstances, they lack mens rea because they believe, at the very least, that they were entitled to enter the cemetery for the burial. Further, that there is a political agenda here at play. This is an assault case. They both reached out to the complainant by way of Ubuntu. That was rejected by AgriForum. So this turns out to be that there is a political agenda between AgriForum and the EFF, which is being played out here in this court.